going to talk about how you measure your lean journey. This is a question I get quite often, and usually as I work through the question with clients, we have to deal with the specifics of that organization's maturity, what works for them, what doesn't, what their culture will withstand. And so there's a lot of factors in what's the right way to measure your lean journey. Now, first, I'd say that the target state for this, what we really want from a target condition, is that lean is so embedded, so ingrained in your organization that measuring your performance is the same as measuring lean. Lean is how you get your results, and so it is organic, it is embedded, it is how you deliver each and every day. And so if you're getting results, then it's because your lean is working. And if your results start to wane, well then what's not working in lean through observation and understanding that you need to improve. So that's the target condition, but very, very difficult to get to that level of maturity, and certainly people pay more attention to measuring it along the way. The first level that I think people look at is measuring activity. And activity, I think, is less of a measurement, more of an indicator, something that you might want to track to be aware of what you're doing. So training hours, or number of events, or number of problems solved. These types of things start to become early metrics that a lot of people use. They are generally not that informative. They certainly can lead to some of the wrong behaviors, but when your journey is so immature that all you have is activity, it's probably a good start. Now, going beyond that, you start to look at, well, what's going to drive quality of that work, not just activity. And that's where we get into capabilities. So measuring the capability of your organization is a better metric. Ideally, it doesn't guarantee that people use the skills in productive ways, but the stronger the skills are, the more likely that they are used. So whether you use a skills matrix or another form to evaluate, really starting to define what your skills are and what progress looks like and how much of the gap you're closing to your own target condition starts to be a way to measure the capability of the organization. Now, this means that you need a standard set of criteria, a standard definition of what the skills are that you want, and a way to evaluate them, which self-assessment certainly is fraught with difficulties because not everybody evaluates themselves well. And investing your standard resources, your sort of core, most capable resources, spending their time evaluating other people might not be the best use of those limited resources. So certainly it's stronger than just measuring activity, but it's still not the ideal way to measure lean success. So then we get to what I consider two more, and I don't really consider them different levels of progression. I think they're two sides of a more mature way to look at it. And one is looking at the system, how you operate, your operating system. The other is looking at your culture, your behaviors. And if you get those two things right, they work in tandem to really drive your lean organization. Now, both of those require that you've articulated what you want out of your operating system, out of your culture. So starting with the operating system, what are the things that you want to measure? How well you standardize, how you solve problems, how you clearly define people's roles, how leadership's engaged, how you drive waste out of the organization. There's lots of ways to organize around it. People ask me, well, what maturity model would I use? And some people pull things off the shelf like Shingo. I used to provide tools that I created that people could use off the shelf. In fact, I had one that had 10, 20 categories or 20, 30 categories with 30 line items each, and you had a nice rolled up score and lots of detail to evaluate. But I firmly believe that you need to build your own maturity model, because what's your operating system? How do you intend to operate? I think you can learn some things by things you pull off the shelf, but ultimately you have to articulate where you want to go. And building out your own maturity model to do that is, I believe, maybe even a rite of passage of a mature lean organization to say this is how we want to operate as an organization. And so as you develop those criteria, again, lots of pros and cons about whether you get assessed or you self-assess, but fundamentally, do you have a way to evaluate levels of maturity along the way? And then on the culture side, again, you have to articulate the behaviors that you want. It's important that they're observable. I've done other videos on that particular point. And then how do you measure them, right? And we can observe them through a handful of eyes and ears. We can poll the organization around what they observe, which I think is a bit better. But fundamentally, are you measuring, are you getting the behaviors that you want? And I believe that in terms of your leanness, measuring the system, your operating system, measuring the culture and the behaviors, and you put those two together, it's perhaps the best way to measure lean success. There's no right answers here. A lot depends on what questions you're trying to answer. Are we trying to prove lean success? Are we trying to evaluate so we can make adjustments along the way? All these are important questions, which is why there's no one right answer, but there might be a right answer for your organization at this particular time. Hopefully this gives you a bit of understanding of the landscape of understanding how to measure your lean journey. And either way you measure it, I hope your progress is forward.